If you love college basketball drama, sissy battles, and real behind-the-scenes power dynamics, you're in the right place. Before we get into this story, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment right now telling me whose side you're on, Dawn Staley or Vic Schaefer. Because what happened after Texas' emotional stretch in SEC play has everyone talking, and the reaction from Dawn Staley might be the coldest, calmest flex we've seen all season. This wasn't just another post-game quote. This was about pressure, power, perception, and how the SEC chews up even elite programs when emotions spill over. Vic Schaefer didn't whisper his frustration. He unloaded it. After Texas found itself staring down back-to-back heavyweight matchups against LSU and South Carolina, Schaefer went on a passionate rant that felt less like a complaint and more like a man boiling over. He questioned the SEC scheduling, hinted at unfair treatment, and suggested the league had stacked the deck against his team. The words weren't polished. They were raw, emotional, and unmistakably frustrated. For Schaefer, this wasn't just about losing games. It was about momentum, fatigue, preparation, and feeling like his team was being asked to survive a gauntlet while others caught their breath. Coaches feel this every season, but few say it out loud the way he did. And once those words hit the air, everyone knew one person would be asked about it next: Dawn Staley. Now here's where this story turns fascinating. Because if you expected fireworks, clapping back, or subtle shade, you didn't get it. What you got instead was something far more powerful. Staley didn't argue. She didn't defend the SEC. She didn't criticize Schaefer. She didn't even sound annoyed. She shrugged it off, calmly, deliberately, almost dismissively, and in doing so, sent a message that echoed louder than any rant. Staley's response was simple in tone but heavy in meaning. She framed Schaefer's comments as emotional, understandable, and ultimately irrelevant. Not in a disrespectful way, but in a way that said, "This is the SEC. This is what we signed up for." That's the part people missed. Dawn Staley wasn't just responding to a coach. She was reinforcing a culture. In her world, the SEC doesn't owe you relief. It doesn't owe you balance. It doesn't owe you sympathy. Every night is survival. Every road game is hostile. Every stretch feels unfair, until you stop talking about it and start winning through it. And that's why her shrug mattered. Because while Vic Schaefer was vocalizing frustration, Dawn Staley was projecting stability. While one coach sounded overwhelmed by the grind, the other sounded completely at home in it. That contrast is everything. This moment also exposed the reality of Texas' transition into SEC life. Texas is talented. Texas is physical. Texas is well-coached. But the SEC doesn't care about resumes or reputations. It tests your emotional discipline as much as your rotations. It pushes coaches to their breaking point. And Schaefer, for all his success, showed just how intense that adjustment can be. Staley knows that pressure better than anyone. She's been on the receiving end of brutal road trips. She's dealt with injuries, fatigue, criticism, and expectations that never let up. And through it all, she's learned one thing: complaining doesn't move the needle in this league. Composure does. That's why her response landed the way it did. No drama. No escalation. Just confidence. And let's be clear, this wasn't Dawn Staley dismissing Vic Schaefer as a coach. Far from it. There's mutual respect there. But what she refused to do was validate the idea that the schedule somehow explains outcomes. In her view, every team faces adversity. Every coach feels squeezed. The difference is how you carry it publicly and privately. And that's where the conversation gets bigger than one rant. Because fans love emotion. They love honesty. They love when coaches say what everyone else is thinking. Schaefer's rant resonated with a lot of people who feel the SEC grind is unforgiving. But Staley's response resonated with champions, the ones who understand that the grind is the point. This exchange also reinforced why South Carolina remains the standard. Not just because of wins and banners, but because of emotional control. Staley doesn't let external noise shape her team's identity. She doesn't feed narratives. She doesn't give opponents bulletin board material. She keeps everything centered on preparation, execution, and resilience. That's leadership. And here's the uncomfortable truth: the SEC doesn't soften for anyone. Not Texas. Not LSU. Not South Carolina. The difference is whether you see that reality as an injustice or a proving ground. Schaefer saw a problem. Staley saw the league. And that's why her shrug said more than 1,000 words. Because in that moment, Dawn Staley reminded everyone watching, players, coaches, fans, and the rest of the conference, that composure under pressure isn't accidental. It's learned. It's practiced. And it's what separates contenders from champions. Now I want to hear from you. Was Vic Schaefer right to call out the SEC schedule? Or was Dawn Staley right to brush it off and keep it moving? Drop your take in the comments, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and stay locked in, because the SEC isn't done delivering drama, and neither are we.